What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today, we're continuing on with We Saw FNAF, and we're not kidding. Last time was the summary of what the early days were like, and honestly, it's well thought out in all things considering when it comes down to the FNAF lore, but honestly, at this point, I'm just probably insane. Yeah, I think everyone is when it comes to the FNAF timeline, that is. Not the lore, but the timeline itself. Also, I heard there's like a new trailer. Gonna react to that soon. I'm gonna check if it's a legit one. If it is, you're gonna see it on Saturday. And if it is, well, uh, these years of FNAF are. We're in the years of FNAF, I guess. I don't know how to properly think about that because honestly, it feels like so long since we actually had this thing where, like, almost every year or so, we're gonna get a new FNAF thing. So I'm a little stunned on that. I thought they were gonna milk Help 1 and 2 a bit longer, so I guess we're gonna see. But anyway, you know the drill. If you enjoyed this reaction video, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when your video comes out. If you have any videos you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below and I'll react to it as soon as possible. And the link to this video will be down in the description. So if you want to see this video before and or after my reaction to it, go ahead, look there. It's gonna be there for sure. And be sure to give the creator some love and support for the video they made. With that all said, let's start this reaction video.
The missing children incident.
The missing child incident forms the foundation of practically everything in Five Nights at Freddy's. It was
True.
canon even in the first game, where Cawthon wasn't even planning a story, let alone a decade-long lore-heavy franchise. Yet, much like many things in FNAF, information on it is scarce.
First of all, the books give the year it occurs as 1985. However, in The Truth About the MCI, Bon Swooch makes a very good argument for the game incident occurring in 1983 instead, which would put it very close to the bite. The movie seems to put the incident in 87, but that may just be setting up date weirdness. Nevertheless, we have no canon year, only vaguely 80s. We do have a specific day and month, though.
The first game tells us the story through rare, hard-to-spot newspaper clippings, which confirm the incident occurred at Freddy's and that there were 5 missing children. And it's confirmed by this point that after they were lured away, the killer stuffed their bodies into the animatronic suits. However, something that is not brought up enough is what else the newspapers tell us, specifically the first one.
Kids vanish at local Pisa area. Bodies not found. 2 local children were reportedly lured into a back room.
Okay, that's a bit interesting that they're using Candy Cadet to tell the story, but I guess that makes sense. He is the storyteller. Weren't there like 2 missing children missing children reports involving 5 or so kids from each one? One around the time when the toy animatronics came out, and one before even that, which led to Bonnie, Freddy, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy be possessed. Yeah, I think that was the thing.
During the late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26th, while video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning, the children themselves were never found, and are presumed dead. Police think that the suspect dressed as a company mascot to earn the children's trust.
3 things here that people don't bring up enough. 1. The end of the incident, at the least, occurred on a specific date, June 26th. 2. The final 2 MCI were killed together. And 3. We know they're the last 2 because someone was identified and arrested the following morning.
The next newspaper then says that following this arrest, 5 children were eventually linked to the incident, and they have confirmation that a man dressed in a mascot costume to lure them to a back room. The newspaper also says that the man was charged and convicted. Specifically, the headline says,
5 children now reported missing, suspect convicted.
We know that then Freddy's remained open for several years after, only to close when no buyers wanted to be associated with it. The last newspaper specifically refers to the MCI as the tragedy that took place there many years ago. We also know for a fact that Afton was the murderer. However, the question of whether he was the one arrested and convicted is a big one, because the answer to that has to be a no. He was active in the company by 1987 at the least.
Wasn't there like a whole contradiction thing in another game? Because I think there was something like a big contradiction to that. I can't remember it on the top of my head, but I think there was.
And still the manager and robot designer for the Fun Times. Feel like a convicted child murderer would get axed pretty quickly in the company. So someone was caught on camera, arrested, and convicted. But not William. We'll get to who we think it was in a moment.
As for the children themselves, we know the names of 4 of the 5 children who disappeared. This is specifically through the 3rd and 6th games. In the 3rd game, the bad ending shows 5 animatronic heads positioned specifically, each with 1 glowing eye, with the exception of presumably Fredbear, who has 2. Upon completion of Pizzeria Simulator's Lorekeeper ending, we are given a shot of a graveyard on a sunny hill. The first 4 graves are positioned in an eerily similar way to the heads in the above shot, with the 5th obscured by grass, and the 6th high up on the hill above them. The names that can be seen are Gabriel, Fritz, Susie, and Jeremy. 2 of them were identified as missing children in the 4th closet, which released the following June. Ironically, June 26th. Gabriel's name was confirmed in the later graphic novel adaptation. With additional information that Susie is Chica, which we'll get to in a minute, we can very easily place the tombstones along the heads and confirm that Gabriel possessed Freddy, Fritz possessed Foxy, Susie possessed Chica, and Jeremy possessed Bonnie. The 6th grave up on the hill is presumed to be Charlotte Emily's, as the blurry name seems to match in length and shape, and it matches her puppet characterization of watching over the other children in death. The other 2 missing children in the book series are a girl with long dark hair named Cassidy and a young artsy boy named Michael Brooks. What's important to note there is that neither of them are named Jeremy. As Michael Brooks is confirmed as the novel's possessor of Golden Freddy, it seems likely that Cassidy replaced Jeremy as Bonnie's possessor in that universe. It should also be acknowledged that the writers of the novels, Cawthon and Breed Risley, would have known that the books take place in an alternate universe to the games by this point. Cawthon was, of course, in charge of the franchise, and apparently decided to write in Charlie as the puppet around then. I feel like these graves were part of the confirmation that they take place in separate universes, as if the 5th obscured grave was supposed to be Michael Brooks, that leaves out Cassidy, and if the 5th obscured grave is Cassidy, it leaves out Michael. It would have been very easy for Jeremy's grave to read Cassidy, but I really feel that adding in a different kid was a specific nudge that the novel MCI are different from the game's MCI. Just keep in mind going forward that while having 3 of the same missing children per universe pretty much gives us confirmation that the above picture is meant to represent those kids, the novels can't be used as a factual basis for all MCI information.
We don't know a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing about the books. The books aren't fully gonna give the information to the games because the games and the books are 2 separate things entirely. Their lore is completely different, their timelines are different, and so on and so forth. The books, as said many times before by many other people, many other YouTubers, theorists, FNAF fans, and so on, can fully say that the books just help confirm some of the smaller stuff involving the games, which will help us solve the games themselves. Like how we knew in the first book, the Silver Eyes, I think. Yeah, the Silver Eyes. We learned about William Afton, FNAF. Oh, I was about to say FNAF 3, but no, it was Sister Location. Sister Location came out, and we got confirmation that William Afton was the purple guy and made the animatronics there, and so on and so forth. We basically got information from the books about subtle things and some things to help solve other stuff. It all works out, but it's not like the books are going to be the answer to everything. It's a weird thing, I know.
About the missing boys, but we actually have a lot of information on Susie. For instance, in Ultimate Custom Night, a glitching withered Chica will claim,
I was the first. I have seen everything.
This, combined with her gravestone being first in Help Wanted 2, seems to imply that she was the first of the missing children. Then we actually see her abduction earlier in Pizzeria Simulator. The game Fruity Maze, when it lights up, shows the reflection of a young blonde girl in a purple dress excitedly playing the game. As she continues playing, though, more fruit is replaced with the sprite of a dead dog, and music starts being replaced by the sound effects of a car collision, as her reflection gets more upset. When the third game is completed or lost, we see Spring Bonnie hovering behind her, and the text,
He's not really dead. He is over here. Follow me.
With this, a story emerges. Susie's dog had previously been hit by a car and killed, and William used this information to lure her to the back room where she became his first victim. We have similar cross-continuity confirmation that this is Susie via the Fourth Closet graphic novel, where she is depicted as looking exactly the same. In the original book as well, she mentions that Bonnie helped her find her puppy, so this is as confirmed as it gets that it's Susie.
Susie also gets characterization in the Fazbear Fright series, though interestingly in that she is given a completely different physical appearance, with long brown hair and brown eyes, a completely different outfit, and no mention of a dog. Though the game Susie descriptor matches up quite a bit with the doll she and her sister share, Gretchen. That is pretty weird, though from interviews with the co-authors we can gather that a lot of the contradictions to canon were based on a lack of information given
That actually is a bit weird,
to them.
not gonna lie.
In the Fazbear Frights universe, Susie is still a missing child, and specifically the one connected to Chica, so we can consider this another cross-continuity confirmation. Susie is the only universal constant, apparently. Following Susie would have come the other children, and only recently have we been given a definitive order. In Help Wanted 2, when the player reaches the end of Princess Quest 4, they encounter the graves of all the children of the happiest day. Only by lighting them in the puzzle's correct order can the secret Bonnie mask be located. This parallels the original Princess Quest games, in which you have to do the same thing in order to release Glitch Trap, but the developers of Help Wanted 2 specifically chose to put the missing children's poppets here, identifying these graves as theirs. This really implies that the grave order is the death order. And with Susie as the first, that gives us an order. Chica Susie, Foxy Fritz, Freddy Gabriel, Bonnie Jeremy, Golden Freddy, and Puppet Charlie. This surprised the fanbase a lot, because most of us had assumed that Charlotte had died before the missing children. Henry refers to William's kills as a wound first inflicted on me, and in the novel trilogy, Charlie dies 2 years before the MCI. But it looks like we were wrong the whole time, or maybe it got retconned, who knows. Or maybe the puppet was always meant to be after the MCI, and the only retcon was that it was the game universe's Charlie. The latter would make sense, as Henry's kid's death in the novels is described completely differently, with the toddler being kidnapped from a linen closet by Spring Bonnie, rather than stabbed outside by a non-disguised William Afton. Sammy may not have ever been meant to be the puppet, just some random other dead kid. Charlie dying last also explains why the children are already dead for Give Gifts Give Life, when she arrives to give them the masks, and why she stuck around in the first place, which will be discussed more in a later section.
But I'm sure you all noticed something interesting. When naming off kids for the gravestones, Connie didn't name Golden Freddy, did she? And many of you will be saying, but we have a name. Let's take a look at the
The thing about the puppet can be argued that the four technically died on the same day, just at different locations at different times within the day, and with no one confirming or denying that William was the one who did it. Well, it kind of answers that question, huh? And then when a bit of time passed, Charlie found them, gave them the gifts, which allowed them to become the animatronics. So technically, there is a compelling argument for both. So just saying, not saying they could be wrong, but honestly, it feels weird if that was the case. Because Midnight Motorist is a weird one, and I do mean weird, since it really doesn't give a lot of information when thinking about it, does it?
the security logbook. Released just a few weeks after Pizzeria Simulator, the Five Nights at Freddy's security survival logbook is mostly a little puzzle collection, but holds some very important lore information. Firstly, it practically confirms that Michael Afton is the same character as Mike Schmidt, the first game's security guard. He writes his name as Mike in the logbook, meaning he's a security guard named Mike, but he references enough specific sister location stuff to make it clear it's Michael Afton, namely the Immortal and the Restless, Exotic Butters, and Casual Bongos. The second thing it confirms is a certain name. Throughout the book, there are two spirits that seem to be communicating with each other, one through faded text, scribbling notes in the margins of the pages, and another by altering the pre-existing text into their responses. We will call these spirits Faded and Altered for now. The thing is, we know for a fact that Altered is the crying child. Faded frequently asks if they recognize drawings of the crying child's toys and references his party specifically. Altered's responses, namely "the party was for me," line up with the questions and show that the second spirit is indeed our CC. As to who Faded is, well, on several pages, Faded wrote the phrase, "my name." One of these is specifically on a gravestone, and with the book's close release to FNAF 6, it was immediately supposed that this was revealing the name on the 5th gravestone. On each of the My Name pages, the page's numbers, or other numbers should the page number be obscured, are incorrect. Upon collecting all of them and going to the word search, the numbers can be used as coordinates to locate letters, which spell out, very clearly, Cassidy.
Is why. So, that comes up with the name Cassidy. Cassidy. So, the hidden code of this book is a name, and its name is Cassidy. Remember that, guys.
Other phrases hidden in the word search, which are not supposed to be there, are "it's me," "who are you," and "what is your name?"
Very quickly, a conclusion was drawn by the entire fanbase, that being that Cassidy is the name of the 5th missing child, and the one stuffed into Golden Freddy. But in talking to the crying child, we also have more information on them that changes everything about this kid. One of the specific things that Crying Child says is "I can't see," which brought to attention in the Fazbear Frights books, though those released 2 years later, but I digress. Within these books, there's a continuing story at the end of each novel referred to as the Stitch Wraith Stingers, in which a possessed animatronic is causing destruction wherever it goes. This is meant to tie together multiple Fright stories, but the important thing to the Cassidy interpretation is the Stitch Wraith itself. Within the Stitch Wraith are 2 children's souls, Jake and Andrew. While Jake died of a brain tumor, Andrew is a vengeful victim of William Afton. He is very specifically the vengeful spirit of the Frights universe, made explicit in the Manor Room 1280, where he is keeping Afton in an eternal nightmare despite attempts to either revive or kill him, solely to make him suffer. This, of course, brings to mind the vengeful spirit of Ultimate Custom Night, who will be discussed in more detail in the Ultimate Custom Night section. But we know the vengeful spirit is a victim of Afton, keeping him in an eternal torment. Now, it's not Andrew in the games. While I know this is controversial in the fanbase, it's pretty clear that several Fright stories take place in an alternate universe, and the Stitch Wraith Stingers are some of them. Namely...
True. Can't disagree with those points, since... Time-traveling ball pit, yeah. Ugh. Better than the Fazgoo and the animatronic shark. So that, I mean, there's Jaws, so I get that, so it's the least weird one, but Fazgoo? Really? That one always gets me, like, cringing. I don't know if I should cringe about it or not. I just can't help it. It's just a cringe-worthy story. Like, there is nothing to say positively about it because it's so out of pocket and so out of place that it just seems cringy to me. It just seems cringy to me.
Just because of 2 little things. Into the Pit and the Man in Room 1280. Into the Pit establishes that the MCI victims were never missing, but found pretty easily. While you might think Oswald seeing the kids all propped up with party hats was just for dramatic effect, it's confirmed in the final story Year of the Band that this was intended to be the actual way the kids were found. In the games, rather famously, the missing children are missing, their bodies never located. Certainly not in such a gruesome scene. Meanwhile, the Man in Room 1280 is dying from burns. Of course, Scraptrap was in the FNAF 6 fire, but he was long dead by that point. William Afton died of a spring lock failure in a hidden back room in the 90s, and then was trapped there without food or water for potentially decades. The fire isn't what killed him. He would already be dead by the time the fire got to him. Ultimate Custom Night in the games is hell rather than the Nightmare of Frights. Right, sorry, Cassidy. So, Having these two specific souls in one spirit causing problems on accident across the series has several parallels to Fated and Altered's conversations in the book. Specifically CC's I can't see, as specifically Andrew cannot see while Jake can. Meanwhile, Andrew is more in control of the endoskeleton's power supply. If, say, there were two spirits in Fredbear, then CC could be the one who couldn't see but was more in control of the suit, and that line could point directly to that interpretation. Though it should be mentioned that they have these specific movesets because Jake possesses the Wraith's mask and Andrew the battery, and I'm not sure how that would work if two kids were both possessing the same entire body, but well, anyway. The fifth missing kid is definitely in Golden Freddy.
To be honest, at this point, it become a numb topic. We figured agony and all that. So, yeah, we got one explanation. It's just going to be hard to explain any other possible way to do it because it's the most logical one. Then again, it's kind of weird how. Wait, does. No, it's a spring lock suit. Never mind. Never mind. I thought it's something else. Never mind. That is a rabbit hole I do not want to go into again. I have my hair ripping and head bashing into a wall all enough when it comes to Golden Freddy. I do not need to delve into that insanity more so than I can. If we can figure out who the crying child's name is, people keep calling him Evan. If it's Evan, for sure, okay, cool, that's amazing, that's awesome. We got his name finally. Hooray. If not, well, I don't know.
We see this in Give Gifts, Give Life and Happiest Day. But if CC is in there too, they'd have to be stuck together. Thus it would work like Andrew and Jake's possession of the Stitch Wraith, with a difficulty maintaining control between it. Then we also explain why Fredbear is so glitchy and mysterious. There's two confused souls in one body. And why he's got two glowing eyes in FNAF 3. There's two souls in there instead of just one.
And with Andrew as the vengeful spirit interpretation, this also points to Cassidy being the vengeful spirit of the games' universe. If CC is Jake, then Cassidy is the Andrew parallel, and, well, UCN is very specific Golden Freddy imagery. Mainly in the final cutscene unlocked after completing 50-20 mode, where a non-withered Golden Freddy can be seen twitching in a black void, interpreted by the fanbase to show the vengeful spirit is inside Fredbear. The twitching Fredbear is what Afton sees when he faces the one he shouldn't have killed. That would make Cassidy the vengeful spirit, angry on behalf of her fellow victims as well as herself. She is the one holding Afton in hell, and possibly the one who has to go back to stop the Mimic in the second arc, though that's very debatable. The Princess and Princess quest was labeled in the files as Cassidy, but this was later changed after being noticed. With other important file names being kept, such as Charlie Door, this seems to imply that it was never supposed to be viewed or wasn't meant to be a clue. Or, well, it's possible that Princess represents Cassie, but that's a whole different ballgame. The thing is, well, this all brings up a certain question. Why Cassidy? Why is she the one William shouldn't have killed?
'Cause, he shouldn't have killed anyone, just in a general sense. So
Well, there's many reasons. Some people think of how William killed her. Another is when the five missing children died, it was her birthday, and she made it a living hell for him. Her. Cassie's a gender-neutral name, but people keep saying Cassie's a girl, and people keep saying Cassie's... this is a weird topic. This is a weird topic to even delve into. There is many reasons why people think Cassie's after William and wants to see him suffer for all eternity. From what day it was that he killed her on, to how she was killed. Maybe there was a family connection. Maybe because she was friends with Evan. I am gonna call the crying child Evan until we get his legit name. So, yeah, gonna stick with that. Anyway, maybe it was that, the betrayal, and wanting to see him suffer for that. I don't know. There's many reasons. Legit one being how he killed her. But I honestly think it's that mixed with the whole birthday thing.
So obviously the title isn't referring to morality, but to the fact that this victim was one who was inevitably going to come back and kick his ass. And not to sound like Mystic Hippo here, but what makes Cassidy so special? Some people infer from the Toy Chica cutscenes of UCN that her death was the last and therefore the most brutal, as Toy Chica's last kill is stated to be worse than the others. But that honestly doesn't make sense to me. The more violent to kill, the more vengeful you are? Is that the logic we're working with? It's not exactly how it works.
True, she could just be a more justice oriented child than the others, but even then, what purpose does this serve narratively? Why is random kid number 5 the big good who gets to hold Afton in a torture chamber?
The missing kids, as you can infer by the fact they barely have names, are more plot devices than characters in their own right. Which is fine. Sometimes in writing, you just gotta focus more on other stuff than characters whose purpose is to be there and die. But then why is the fifth one so important? So important that she's the one stopping our big bad. So important that she gets to haunt alongside Cece and communicate with him in the logbook.
And that's where we get to the big question.
The one that Corey asked me the night I did my own read-through of the security logbook. One that changed everything.
Is the logbook telling us that Cassidy is communicating with the crying child, or that Cassidy is the crying child?
And there's the theory. Honestly, I'm not even going to get into this discussion right now, mainly because we already did it for game theory. But it is an interesting thought overall. Cassidy being the crying child. But with how the things in the book are, and the fact that it is confirmed without a doubt that Golden Freddy has two beings possessing it, and the way how they word stuff in the book, it makes sense that the one that's being referred is the one who sees everything, who is Cassidy, the fifth missing child. I was about to say children, but children's a plural word. Ugh. I am not on the top of my game today. But yeah, Cassie is the fifth missing child, for sure. The crying child is someone else entirely. And we only have like one thing left in that book that has not been solved by anyone. That many people have tried to find some clues and all that to make it work, but it can't just find it that easily. So anyway, yeah. So for this, we're gonna be done for now. This is the end of part 2 of We Solve FNAF, and we're not kidding. We're gonna do the next one for next week, and so on and so forth. So if you enjoyed this reaction video from beginning to end, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when your video comes out. And in the comment section below, tell me what you think of this so far. Honestly, it made some good points, but there are other points to counter said points that are being made, like how the puppet could have, well, not the puppet, but Charlie could have been killed first, and the other 5 were just killed at either different times, different places, and whatnot. I'm just saying that it's a possibility, and so on and so forth. So I would like to really hear your opinion on the matter in the comment section below. And as a reminder, the link to this video will be down again, as I said in the beginning, in the description below. So if you want to check it out, subscribe to them, and so on and so forth, give them support for the video they made, go ahead, look in the description. It's going to be all right there. So yeah, with this all said, hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!